Did we do it?
We live.
Is this
Baby.
thing on? Wow. I think we did it.
I'm kind of tripped out from that little futuristic 30-second countdown. That was wild.
There's a lot of vibey stuff happening on this little restream platform, and I like all of it. There were actually some even more trippier countdown options we had that we could go into at length, and we probably will. Of course. Well, first of all, welcome everybody. Thank you all for joining. We see people chatting away. This is very cool. This is the first one of these we've done. And we're here today to break down some captain's picks. Smylie, any sort of opening thoughts or
Well, yeah, I do have opening thoughts, and I think
Okay.
it all is going to be around the kind of leaked tweet that we saw from the Guardian, kind of
Hate it.
reconfirmed by Newing Up. It'll be interesting to see if that is going to be the picks. I kind of like the element of surprise, but this kind of has like this Adrian Wojnarowski deal with the NBA, how he always leaked
Yes.
NBA
yes.
draft picks. But I don't know. I just have a hard time believing that this is the team, like that it got leaked, but this is actually the 12 I thought it would be, which I think would be really tough for a couple of guys. I think Keegan Bradley has every right to feel that he should be on this team, and he's probably the first out, I would guess, currently based on what I'm seeing on those picks.
Well, so
We'll see. We'll see if it's true.
Should we So let's take a step back quick to just the picks as rumored are Brooks Koepka, Jordan Spieth, Collin Morikawa, Rickie Fowler, Justin Thomas. Those are the ones that the Guardian reported, and then no laying ups. Further confirmation was that Sam Burns would be the final pick for this team. And I wholly agree with you. We were texting about this last night. It's like when I think Adam Schefter and Adrian Wojnarowski, whoever it was the TV partner with those leagues. I guess ESPN televising the draft. It's like, hey, you guys can't say that so-and-so's getting picked, but you can say that, the Denver Nuggets are strongly leaning towards or the Dallas Cowboys are very interested in. I'm not sure if that would have made this feel a little bit better, but it is a little anticlimactic to show up and feel like Christmas got spoiled a little bit early. Like, I was really looking forward to the intrigue behind these picks. But yeah, I mean, I think that, kind of to your point on, and we'll get into it. Let's see which picks Zach does make. But I do think there are a handful of guys here that were kind of hard done by. And I mean, if you had 13 picks, there would be a couple guys that kind of got screwed out of a pick. If you had 14 picks, there are still guys that could say, I should have been on this team. So I think that's it's the thing we've been talking about in the podcast for weeks now. It's a really tough choice for Zach. And I think the unfortunate thing about it is if everyone was playing really, really, really good, and you could say, it's sorry, we just have all these good guys, and we have to, we can only take 12 of them over to Rome. That'd be one thing. I think the bummer is that, we haven't seen a ton of convincing golf from some of these guys. Maybe a few, like Sam Burns played great last week at East Lake. I just wonder if, what the public reaction is going to be to this team, given the picks that are made, as to like, this is the team we're taking over Rome. I think it should have been this guy. And I just hope that debate can end quickly and we can kind of all get behind the team and say, these are the guys we're taking. Let's go win a Ryder Cup.
Well, that's just not how the way the world works these days. There's always going to be some controversy. But David Bileski, I believe how you say his last name, says Scheffler, Burns, good mates, President's Cup experience together. Well, just got a text message from Sam Burns, and he said, saw you're live right now, but how we feeling for Sunday, more importantly. So
Sam Burns, thanks for tuning in.
That seems like a guy that is pretty confident where he's sitting. He didn't say I got picked, but that just seemed like a shout of like, hey, we good over here.
I think, to really divert before these picks begin, like, we have a long college football season ahead of us. And you this morning, listen, you put me on the spot last week on the podcast. Hey, Charlie, can we do a live show? Yeah, let's see if I can put together. I've been grinding, putting this thing together, and then I hop in this morning, and I'm getting trolled about the 2010 LSU UNC football game. And I just feel like this is going to be a recurring theme, and I don't know how I'm going to feel about it if we get blown out by South Carolina in our opener. So
Dude, it's so like this is all right. So we have Ryder Cup picks. We get to talk about the Ryder Cup for a month, and
yes,
now we get college
college
football to just
football.
satisfy our hunger before we get there, and then we just get all football the rest of the year.
It's almost like there's more to talk about at this point. I kind of love it. I mean, I feel like this is firmly our lane. Is with a little
Yeah.
bit of golf, a little bit of college football, but yeah, I think and a lot of good commenters in here. I think that the Burns Scheffler theme is probably the one is the biggest thing because Burns is the last guy that's rumored to make the team, and I
Well,
feel like
people look at Sam's record from last year at the President's Cup, and they're like, "Oh, like he didn't like kill it at the President's Cup." It's not true. If you'd have looked at the strokes gained, and if they would have
yes,
just played a tournament, Sam Burns would have won that week. Max Homa went 5-0. I believe Jordan Spieth went 5-0. I think we had two guys do that, but anyways, Sam had actually an incredible President's Cup. Just ran into some buzzsaws on teams ham and egging against him.
yeah, it's tough to on some of that stuff. It's you were there, so he passed the eye test there. But you look at a set of stats, and it looks like a guy didn't have a good run there. If anything, he was the one that was kind of helping Scottie Scheffler along. Scheffler had that famous shank that
Yeah.
that Sam talked about there, where he said, go have fun with that one. But yeah, I think in a way, we don't know what's going to happen with Scottie over the next month in terms of trying to find form again putting, but. Sam's a great putter. And if you have a guy like that who can, support you in alt shot and even just the feel of playing with the teammate where, I thought that was interesting that Sam said on the podcast where they say right from the get-go, like, no apologies. We're just going to go out there. We're going to play good golf. We're not going to feel like in some ways, I think the lack of a burden could be a little freeing for Scottie of like, I'm just playing with one of my best friends. We're going to go out there. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And
Dude, he hits it so good. Like he's gonna
yes,
be totally fine.
It's going to be fine.
And I'm not worried about that team.
I want to see.
If
This is
Sam's
what I
on the
want to
team.
see. I want to see Scottie Scheffler being driven up to the first tee at Marco Simone by Zach Johnson and Braveheart style holding a broomstick putter over his head, just twirling it around, pumping the crowd up. I'm all the way back. I'm broomsticking it. I'm a new man. Not only am I the greatest
Dude,
ball
if he
striker
shows
on
up
earth,
with an
but
LAB putter, that would be so sick. I would be all in on the broomstick with Scotty. He just looks like a broomstick guy.
I really think, I mean, this is not a plug, but like, in some ways, like I think if he went to that lab broomstick that Lucas Glover uses, that Adam Scott uses, like everyone
Dude,
talks
we're
about,
not we're not putting that in his hands a month before, but you can't tell me that guy doesn't look like a guy he should be using a broomstick.
maybe next year, but I'm telling you, like, can you imagine if that was what unlocked him? Like he's striking the ball as best as he can strike, and then all of a sudden he's like, if he is even like PGA Tour average with a broomstick, he'd win everything. So. Okay, so let's see here. So it looks like the press conference is live now. Are you seeing this on the?
Check out the coffee cup today.
Oh, look at you.
Mm-hmm.
All
I
right,
need to
here,
get a
let's
Ryder
see
Cup
here.
one while I'm over there.
I'm trying to. Okay, here we go. I'm getting a lot of ads right now. What I'm attempting to do here, Smylie, is pull up Zach's press conference so we can watch it together. Let's see here. Skip ad.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay. All right.
We got Eamon and Damon on Golf Today. Looks like they're going to be hosting this deal.
All right. So I'm gonna share.
We're getting the
pull-
screen up. Is it not what we're doing?
I'm trying to pull up. See, this is. Apologize to the audience here. Essentially, I am co-hosting and producing at the same time, which is a joyous thing. Yeah. Okay. So I have it up right now. We're still a few minutes away from Zach announcing his picks, but when he does announce those picks, we will cut live to that coverage here, so we can all watch them together, and then we can react on the back end. So. I mean, I think basically, Burns is the last one that's rumored, and he's texting you about LSU football this morning. I think we feel pretty comfortable that he's going to be the last pick. I mean, any outside chance we see a Keegan Bradley, Cam Young pick? Are those the first two guys out in your mind, kind of?
I think so, and that seemed to be kind of the way it had been trending for quite some time now. Where Sam, I think he caught some late steam, almost. To become a pick, but man, it really is going to suck. I think Keegan definitely played his way onto the team.
Yeah.
more so than I think Lucas Glover did. I would take Keegan over Lucas just in the fact that Keegan was at all the majors this year. I think one of the big things against Lucas, in my opinion, is that, listen, I know JT didn't play well in the majors, but he was at all 4 of them. Like, Lucas didn't play at one of the major championships this year. It's just hard for
Yeah.
me to take a guy who was not at the biggest stage of golf. And the Ryder Cup is that. It's going to be a major championship type of atmospheres as far as the back nine goes. And I think a lot of the question marks are going to be is how JT is going to perform at this Ryder Cup. If he is indeed a pick, which I feel pretty confident that he will be, but it's he's going to catch some heat because if he doesn't have a great Ryder Cup, it'll fall on Zach Johnson, and that you had Keegan Bradley sitting there, Cam Young sitting there.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with the Cam Young argument as much as I do with the Keegan one, as I just feel he's definitely currently the odd man out right now.
Yeah, I think Keegan was the closest to making this team for sure. And I think Cam Young, look, I know you pick a team to win the current Ryder Cup. It's not like we're, rebuilding a franchise here. But I think there's to some degree, there's an argument for Cam Young as a developmental pick where you can, as we've talked about at length, like he's got so many superpowers. He hits the ball an absolute mile. He didn't maybe play great at the President's Cup.
Developmental pick. I don't know why I'm laughing at that.
Well, but I think we talk so much and about
we got him live right now, I think.
Okay, maybe I'm on a delay on this YouTube here, but let's I'm gonna cut over to that in a second. Are you? So you're ahead of me then, which is great. This is great. This is great live stream TV right now.
They're at that PGA headquarters in Frisco.
By the way, that place looks sick. Like I would highly enjoy golf.
You know what paid for that whole thing? The Ryder Cup.
Well, you're welcome.
It's like one of the biggest things that none of these players get paid. They send money to a charity, but it's kind of like one of the biggest scams in all of sports.
It's just the revenue that generates. I mean, that's amazing. Here we're doing a Ryder Cup live stream, and by the way, this is the biggest scam going. So all right, here we go. Okay, so now I'm caught up here. I'm gonna bring in Zach Johnson's press conference here. We're gonna turn this up and react to this together. Smylie, no spoilers.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna go mute on mine.
At the home of the PGA of America in Frisco, Texas.
So here we go. Not quite here with the picks yet, but
from now at Marco Simone Golf and Country Club.
Here's Zach at the podium.
At the head table is the gentleman who will lead a 12-member team to Italy.
I guess the big question right now, Charlie, is are we going to have a full spring break crew at the Ryder Cup?
I mean,
I've already booked my ticket. I'll be there.
Yes,
but we're looking for 3 picks.
We need 3. We need 3. I'm actually curious as to whether, assuming that Jordan and JT go, can Rickie crack the rotation? Like, can Rickie get into the spring break lineup?
Before we get to your picks, I know you are more than thrilled about those who have already locked up a spot.
That is accurate. Thank you, Julius. Very excited about our 6 earned berths qualifiers. Scottie Scheffler, I don't think I need to describe him. Number 1 player in the world. Mr. Consistency, 2 wins, including the Players' Championship this year. Wyndham Clark, 2 wins, U.S. Open being one of them. Lots of power, very energetic rookie. My boy, Brian Harman, St. Simon's Island.
Brian Harman's
my hometown now.
Love that.
Won the Open. I might have won the Open 6 by 6 shots. He's a bulldog, and all pun intended there. Patrick Cantlay, again, another model of consistency. Played great at the end of the year. No one is surprised. Max Homa, 2 wins this year. Rookie Ryder Cupper, but played some high-level international golf. He's our prom king. Xander Schauffele, played amazing, especially as of late, but the whole year, and a great team player. Loves the cups. Quality guys, great competitors. and probably better off the course than even on it.
Okay, so let's get to the picks here.
That was kind of awkward, huh?
That was
The time has come, Zach. So if you're ready, can you please tell the world
Okay,
who
here we
will
go.
be joining these 6 qualifiers?
I just got chills set. Yeah, yes, I can, Julius.
Love that hoodie, by the way.
A lot of time, a lot of energy has gone into this process. That's probably no secret. I am very confident in these 6, and my confidence comes from the mere fact that I am surrounding myself around great people, specifically my vice captains who have been absolutely amazing. Our analytics team, who they're the nerd herd, but we love them. They give us a lot of great information that we can chew on. And then from there, we came up with what we felt was 6 guys that made these other 6 whole. So without further ado, our 6 gentlemen that will be joining our qualifiers are Mr. Sam Burns,
Wow.
Mr. Rickie Fowler, Mr. Brooks Koepka, Mr. Collin Morikawa, Mr. Jordan Spieth, and Mr. Justin Thomas.
There you have it. There you have it. These are your picks right here. Your this is your Ryder Cup team right here as you have it, Smylie.
How about it? How about the graphic too? Just right off after the picks. It's like you just texted Zach and already knew.
Yeah, Zach texted me. I said, Zach, I got to put together a graphic for this stream we're doing today. So if you could just kind of shoot those over on the early side, that would be really helpful. I mean,
wow. I mean, it's not surprising at all, man. I that's the team I expected to get picked. Whether it's the right team, that's going to be, if they go and get the job done and win, it doesn't matter. But it's he's going to definitely catch a lot of heat. I think a lot of people, especially I'm already seeing in the comments, people think Bryson should have been picked. I don't necessarily go quite that far, but if you think Bryson should be picked, I don't necessarily disagree. He's definitely played some he's had a really nice series. He's played some really nice golf. Definitely that 58 was impressive, but you got to think about this too. This group of Zach Johnson and those guys, they're not live guys. They don't follow live. They are just judging based off the major championships, which Bryson I thought performed fairly well this year outside of the Open Championship. But man, that's our team.
Yeah, I mean, and so this is the anticlimactic part where we kind of knew this was the team, but I think now it kind of gives us full license to dig into it. So I think, okay, we can dig into the pair, how these guys match up, how they could potentially play against your Team Europe pairs, but I think let's kind of go a little further on the guys who narrowly missed out. So Keegan, we touched on a little bit, a little hard done by there.
It's tough, dude. That had to be the hardest
that's the
call.
Hardest one, probably, right?
Because he's a match, like he lives for match play. He would have been the most competitive guy on the team. The guy absolutely lives and dies for match play. So I think that's all. And based off all the comments that he had talked about, how difficult has it been for you with the Ryder Cup on your mind and playing? He said it's just all I think about. So I've been thinking about it for months now, and I don't know what he could have done different. I think Keegan had an incredible year. He's proven that his putting is not an issue, that he's actually a very good putter now, definitely somebody that could have been reliable on the team. And he's had success in these formats. He's been a great teammate. It's just, it's really difficult because it's kind of that new wave, and he had guys like, Wyndham Clark definitely would have played his way onto the team, but if Brian Harman doesn't win the Open Championship, does Keegan get a pick over Brian? I don't know. It's just we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the interesting part of this discussion is if the automatic qualifiers look different, then the picks can look different, right? Like I think that Wyndham Clark and Brian Harman are phenomenal players who've had great years and showed up in big moments to win those majors. But it's fair to say that they don't have experience, playing on some of these teams. I think, I think Brian played a little bit of Brian played Ryder Cup. I mean, a Walker Cup when he was younger.
Mhm.
And I don't
Oh,
know.
no doubt he's not going to be a stud. It's just that it's winning a major championship definitely helps qualifying in the top 6 based off these Ryder Cup points because it's all based off of money.
Sam,
Let's cut over to Sam here. Let's cut over to our
stud
boy Sam
athlete,
Burns.
number one.
Because he's texting you earlier.
Won the World
He was
Golf
tuned in
Match
the
Play
live
Championships
stream,
this year.
talking LSU football. Let's hear what Sam has to
Tremendous
say here
putter,
with Zach Johnson.
which is always good in the Ryder Cup. To say that he meshes well with the other guys in the team, again, would be a massive understatement. And a versatile teammate. Guys want to be around him. Guys want to play with him. It's nice locking hands with somebody, locking shoulders with somebody that you want to be around, and Sam fits that to a T.
Very good. Thank you very much, Zach. Hi, Sam, and congratulations on making your first Ryder Cup
Look at
team.
the
Can you
Masters
quickly
polo.
say hello to make sure we can hear you okay?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Look
Beautiful.
at that
Absolutely
mullet right
beautiful.
now.
You
He's
narrowly
so
missed
good.
out on
Go.
making the U.S.
So
Ryder Cup
good.
team at Whistling Straits. How much of a goal was it this year for you to make this year's team, Zach's team?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say it was my number one goal. Knew that it was something I wanted to be a part of, and I didn't want to miss out on. And so when Zach, gave me the call, just incredibly honored. I think for me personally, there's no higher honor than to represent your country, to be a part of this Ryder Cup, to tee it up alongside these world-class players. And
Dude,
guys.
that
I'm
0-3-2
extremely-
record is just,
extremely
it's
excited.
not right. It's not
Sam,
right
the
at all.
2023
He
junior-
shot like 67 every day and lost.
Yeah, it really should be. There should be like an asterisk there where like
0-3-2. It's just I got to go back and look at some of these stats from
Yeah.
him because I remember like Data Golf showing who would be leading the golf tournament. Sam Burns would have been leading. For him to be 0-3-2, it's just not right. People are going to see that record and think, oh, he was terrible at the President's Cup. Not true. Not true at
Yeah.
all.
No, I'm pumped for him, and I think that for better or worse, to kind of go back to the Cam Young sort of developmental team building line, it's like you're trying to get certain guys experience that are going to be the core of this team going forward. And if you know that Scottie is going to be the centerpiece of USA Ryder Cup and President's Cups teams going forward, and if you know that he likes playing with Sam Burns, if Sam's anywhere near the conversation to make a team, it's worth trying to take him, because it just helps get him more reps and more experience playing with Scottie and playing these competitions so they can, form a partnership that's like Jordan and JT in the future. It's like Jordan and JT had that. Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele have that. To a certain extent, we could kind of see that happen with Max Homa and Collin Morikawa. So I think that's the interesting thing to me is like looking at kind of spinning off of that and looking at those pairings, and those 4 that I just listed are the most obvious. The question I have is then what do you do with the other 4 guys? Can any of those other guys kind of plug in with other players? Like it seems to me that Brooks Koepka and Rickie Fowler would be a good fit because they both live down there in Jupiter and practice at Medalist together. But is that too is that too much of a layup of like, okay, we just stick together the 2 new guys, Wyndham Clark and Brian Harman, or are those guys better paired with players that have, I'm not saying it's as clear cut as, hey, we just make 6 pairings, because obviously in different sessions you can mix guys up. But in terms of just naturally pairing the guys on that team, that's what stood out to me. What are your thoughts on different pairings we could see?
When I go back to Whistling Straits, I think about that team of Collin Morikawa and Dustin Johnson. Those 2 guys were incredible at the last Ryder Cup. So I would say Brooks Koepka and Dustin Johnson are fairly similar players, similar ball flights. They both hit fades. So in my head, I'm thinking that's a pretty easy pairing where Collin Morikawa and Brooks Koepka would be paired together. I really like that as 2 guys that hit fades, super tough on the golf course. That would just – those 2, they'll just intimidate you with balls being close to the flagstick. And I think that's what they're going to be able to do. And, Rickie, that's a great question. I wouldn't be surprised to see a rotating door of the spring break crew. I think those 3 are going to be rotating in and out with each other. Because I don't think, because Justin is, in the past, he's been the number 1 guy, and he's the guy that you rely on to play multiple matches. And I would say that it wouldn't surprise me to see him play, a morning 4-ball both days, and then just play the last match, just play 3 matches, and then have Rickie play the afternoon with either Jordan or really just ride the hot of those 3, pick the best 2 players of who's playing the best.
I think that's it, for everyone that wants to criticize the picks, it's like the further you get into team construction, the more sense it makes. Where of course JT was going to be a 5-session guy in the past, but that's maybe not the case this year. Now, kind of to your point on the hot hand, if JT shows up and he's got it all figured out and he's back, well, then that's a good problem to have, because then you can, ride the hot hand between Jordan and JT. But I think that that's a really, really good point of saying you can kind of balance out between those 3 guys. We know they can all play together and just kind of mix it up in the sessions, based on what you're seeing from the morning sessions.
Yeah, and Wyndham Clark's kind of the oddball of who is he going to pair with? All these guys seem to have relationships with different players. Max Homa would be a potential option of a player. Those 2 are good friends. This isn't like a good friends thing. A lot of times these analytics team, they call it, what is the nerd herd?
The nerd,
I thought that
nerd
was,
herd, yes,
that was great.
Yes.
I would say that Wyndham, I would say that Max would be a nice pairing for him, but it also wouldn't surprise me to see a guy like Brian Harman be just a nice fit for him. 2 guys that have not played a Ryder Cup before together. So that's kind of a red flag typically going. You want to have some experience, but to me, those 2 balance each other out really nicely. Wyndham has the length, Brian Harman has the consistency, the nice short game. I think they both don't know what they don't know as far as what to expect, but I think that's kind of the beauty of the Ryder Cup is you could potentially throw those 2 guys out there and have just this, because arguably those 2 guys have been playing as good as anyone on the team this year. So you have 2 guys that are playing well, confident, and just, do you go throw those 2 guys out there together? I don't know. That's kind of dicey, but it's definitely a consideration.
Well, and even for Harman, again, with Sam Burns being a pick and maybe not playing every single session, I mean, we just saw Brian Harman putt pretty good overseas. Wouldn't be a terrible pairing with Scottie Scheffler, in terms of a guy that can hit the ball long range, strike it well, and put Brian in some good positions, to make some putts and win some points there. So I think that, that's my, now that the team's set, that's where my head goes immediately, is like, kind of, let's talk about pairings. One that we're kind of seeing in the comments a little bit, noted the Bryson thing. Do you think there's any room for the LIV crowd to feel, hey, like we got excluded? I mean, because I just, okay, let's realistically define the list. Brooks was 7th on the points list. He earned his way in by playing well in the majors. So now we're talking about Bryson DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed, Taylor Gooch, Phil Mickelson, maybe.
Yeah,
that's kind of your pool, right? I mean, I just don't. You tell me first. Like, do any of those guys, who had the most compelling case out of the rest of the LIV
let's
guys?
just start with like the first major of the year, the Masters. I think one of the big things that everybody's takeaway was from the Masters is that you had 3 LIV guys finish in the top 4. You had Patrick Reed, you had Phil Mickelson, and you had Brooks Koepka all finishing in the top 4. I know there was a T4, so it was like 7 guys in 4th. But anyways, that was kind of the storyline. It's like, all right, we have guys that are competing in major championships, and then you have Bryson DeChambeau, who goes and plays really well at the PGA Championship, is somewhat contending as Brooks runs away with it. And at that point, we're thinking in our head, okay, Brooks is definitely going to be on the Ryder Cup, Tim. He finished second at the Masters, won the PGA, and eventually falls out of the points list, still gets a pick. But then he goes to the U.S. Open and also has a fairly good week. So, and then that momentum of the LIV Golf, he starts playing really well on the LIV Golf Tour. I'm not sure exactly what his stats were on that tour as far as how many top whatevers he had, but I think everybody points to the Greenbrier shooting 58, and I think he shot like 62 or 3 the day before or something like that. So, I mean, just silly golf. I mean, I don't care where you are shooting 58 anywhere, and the Greenbrier is the PGA Tour golf course. It just happens to not be there anymore. And I think you could have definitely made a case for Bryson, but I also look at this team room and know that Bryson's not the most well-liked guy And that's the case with a lot of the live guys. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. None of the guys
Patrick Reed
just love the live players. There's some players that they love, like Dustin Johnson. If he had a good year, he would have been on the team because the guys get along with him. I think Bryson, he was yelling out the door on the PGA Tour, and listen, I know Bryson, he's a nice guy. I just think it's very difficult when I think Zach Johnson's looking at all the players on his board, and you have to check off the boxes. And if there are boxes that you can't check off as far as being a good teammate, are you reliable, or are you going to be all in on for the US? And I think you can make a case for Bryson for a lot of it, but then you ask all the other guys and say, hey, do you want Bryson on the team? I think a lot of them would say no. And that's and is it right or wrong? I don't know. Well, if he would have just gone and qualified on points, then he would have been fine. But it's just I get the Bryson argument. I understand how well he's played, but if you're Zach, it's just safer to do what he did.
I want to toss back out quickly because Zach Johnson's teeing up your boy Jordan Spieth here. I just want to hear what Jordan has to say about all this. This could be kind of fun. It's nice to kind of see what these guys are saying as they react to their picks. So
on Team USA.
here's Jordan right now.
Thank you very much, Zach. And congratulations, Jordan, and welcome to your 5th consecutive Ryder Cup team, the longest stretch among anyone on your team. You have a solid 71% win rate in Ryder Cup 4-ball play. What is it about that format that brings out the best in you and the best in your teammates?
Great teammates in 4-ball. I've had to lean on them a few times over the years, but just some freedom. I like to play aggressively, and typically when you have a partner beside you, you get that opportunity more often. You can not only just hit shots more aggressively, hit putts more aggressively. You always know someone's going to get it in the hole, and when it's going out there trying to make as many birdies as possible, it's just more fun. Just have more fun playing that format. I'm not sure, why.
Charlie, I'm 99% sure this is his laundry room,
but,
or it could be the bathroom, to be honest.
Love more opportunities. It's my favorite format for sure.
That's amazing.
Jordan Zach just surrounded himself with 5.
We had, and we'll cut away. I just want to get those initial thoughts. We had him live from, I think, his tour bus earlier for the podcast a few months ago, and now live from his laundry room.
Live from the toilet.
I love so much that's a great part of this, of seeing all these guys in the little boxes and where they're joining us from the various Zoom locations. And some guys have very polished home offices that are set up for these types of things, like Rickie Fowler
JT's
is in
live
the
now.
exact same location. Or
whenever JT gets live on your end.
Yeah. Well, let's kick it to JT when he comes back, because that could be another good one. But I think there, to kind of set up JT, I mean, Jordan said it right there. I've had a lot of good partners in these formats over the years, and so I want a guy that can allow me to play aggressive. And I think that now he's got 2 options. Rick's back playing well, and JT, if he gets it back together, then you're freeing up again one of the guys who's been this 71% win rate. I mean, that is a massive asset for this team. Let's make that guy happy. Let's figure out what we can do to make that guy happy so we can go win this cup back on foreign soil.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see who Rickie gets paired with. If it's not JT or Jordan or who it is, I think even a guy like Max Homa, Rickie would be a nice pairing with. He just why Rickie's a good fit for this Ryder Cup team is that he just doesn't have any weaknesses in his game. He can have a day that he can carry a team with his driver, with his irons, with his short game, or with his putter. So whatever you kind of need out of him, he can bring as just an asset as a partner. And he can carry a match, but he can definitely complement a match probably better than any player on this team, just because he doesn't necessarily, in my mind, have a particular weakness.
Totally agreed. As you mentioned, here is JT. We're about to hear from
6,
him.
2, and 1.
6-2-1. I mean, look at the stats, man. I mean, how can you argue against this?
You just
also,
don't leave JT
love this
out.
backdrop. I don't know where he's joining us from here, but nice little
That's
elevated
Justin,
seat.
That's in
congratulations
Nashville.
on making your 3rd United States
Okay.
Ryder Cup team. In your
Well,
rookie year in Paris, you contributed the most points to the team with 4 wins and 1 loss. What would you tell a rookie teammate on what to expect or how to prepare for an away Ryder Cup?
Yeah, first off, thank you. I'm very, very happy to be here. But it's exciting. It's a type of nerves that I don't think you can really put into words, and us that have experienced it, especially over there, can understand. It's butterflies, but it's good butterflies. You know, it's all the nerves that we are playing for. It's why we play professional golf, is to be in these kind of atmospheres. And it doesn't matter how many cups we've played in, whether it's our first one or our fifth one or our third one, and we're all going to be nervous, but it's a great opportunity. And I think all of us are very excited, and I know the rookies are as well.
Justin, you're 6-2-1 in the last
this is
two
the
Ryder
question I was
Cups,
hoping they would lead with.
throwing a
It says
President's Cup,
here.
and you're 16-5-3 in your career. What is it about team golf specifically that brings out the best in you?
This is a message to the haters, all right?
Well, I think Jordan touched on it a little bit. Good partners definitely help with that. And a lot of it, as much as you want to bring good golf yourself to the table, I think a part of it is bringing the best out of your partner. And I've been very fortunate to play with some friends of mine that I feel like I know well, that I'm not only comfortable around, but I feel like I can do my best to try to bring the best out of them. With a couple of them on this call with me, and Jordan and Rick. And I don't know. It's a very, very exciting, and it's hard to really think about anything other than exactly what you're doing. You don't really get out, it's hard to get ahead of yourself or think about anything behind you, because it's not a stroke play event where you're looking at leaderboards or thinking about holes you're going to birdie. The only thing you're worried about is just beating the person or team that you're playing against. And, that's a challenge that I've enjoyed.
There you have it. Referencing Jordan and Rick there as buddies, I should properly credit my buddy Tate Frazier for the trademark message to the haters tagline. But there it is. For anyone who's doubting JT's status on this team, and I know some people have come at you and said, "Oh, you're just rooting for him because he's your buddy." Look at the resume and look at the flexibility there in terms of pairings. I just think that I am not worried about him at all going over there and taking a couple of points for this team. I just think that I have other concerns about pairings and who could win stuff. I'm not at all worried about that little spring break pod.
Sorry, the chat's kind of getting off the rails over here.
Robert Sullivan, come to Birmingham, you coward. I'm happy to come to Birmingham.
You don't need to respond to this particular. So I'm just gonna comment on JT, and so where did it kind of get off this year? Let's just kind of talk about just JT's year. And again, he was at the Masters playing, I believe he was paired with Tiger on Thursday, Friday. Him and Rahm were also, I believe, in that pairing. But anyways, he misses the cut, finishes terrible on the back nine with that storm that rolled through. And then as the year kind of went on, the putter was becoming kind of an issue, and switches to aim point. Feel like it's taken a little bit to kind of figure out how to get the aim point going, is switch putters a time or two, switch across handed, switch back. But he had a couple nice finishes to close the year. He just kind of dug himself in a hole to try to make the playoffs. In a typical year, he would have been making the playoffs, but this year only being in the top 70, misses out by one shot, and had a little bit of bad luck at the Wyndham with the wrong guys winning the golf tournament and being up at the top. But now he had to wait around. But I think it's been probably the best thing for him to get away from the game for a month, to be able to go out and just slowly work on what you need to go work on, and just kind of build your confidence up. Because when you're just always thinking about the Ryder Cup and trying to make that team, even though you just don't have your best stuff, you put so much pressure on every aspect of your game that it's going to be difficult to perform. And now that he's on this team, I think if it were me, I would think, you know what, It's finally over. We're on the team. You're the best player in the world. You've done this before. Let's go work our tail off and let's go and show the world what I'm capable of doing, because he's done it before.
You just indirectly answered a question in the chat that I think is a really, really good one. It's one that we've talked about for the last few weeks. From Billy T, who's asking, do you think JT was overthinking or overworking trying to make the team the past little while and couldn't play freely? And I think that is, we've talked about this with I think we even talked about this last week with Scottie Scheffler of like time away to kind of work on the putter. But I think for Justin, when you're coming down the stretch, you're not worried about breaking down the mechanics of your swing and trying to kind of get to a better place. The chat is killing it right now. We love the chat. You're doing great here. But to close the loop on that thought, I think that if you're trying to shoot a score every week to make the FedEx Cup playoffs, because that is a piece of evidence you're using to say this is why I need to be chosen.
That's why Cam Young needed to make the Tour Championship. I thought if Cam Young made the Tour Championship, he could have played his way on the team.
But you can't both try to do that and also work on issues in your game. And so JT, almost a blessing in disguise, missing the playoffs, because that was just more time for him to kind of get back in the lab and work on things. Now he gets his pick, so he's in. He's going to be able to go play the Fortinet in the fall as a little bit of a competitive tune-up. So
he plays well at that golf course so often, and I saw a little scorecard from JT the other day that showed that he's well on his way back, shooting a little 63. So he's starting, I feel like, to find his form. But I'm excited for not only him but for the rest of the team. I feel absolutely gutted for Keegan Bradley, just totally gutted. I don't know who you take off. You could have made a case for potentially 4 of the 6 guys that were picked, that maybe they could have been replaced by Keegan Bradley or Cam Young. But you know what? This is the team they picked. And, I'm just really looking forward to getting over to Rome and seeing the pods and who's kind of be paired or in that little group together, because, you really only need 8 guys at the Ryder Cup, because it's only 4 matches a day. And that's different from the President's Cup that has 5 matches where only 2 guys sit. You have 4 guys sitting in sessions. So really, you can ride horses. And when you go and look at that European team, they got 8. Now, they may not have 12, but they got 8 guys. And I think that's going to be the challenge and the Americans typically have been very good in the foursome in the better ball. Is it foursomes? It's foursomes and then best ball? Is that foursomes?
So it's actually interesting, and someone should probably even correct me on this, but I believe it is at the discretion of the host team as to which format you play first each day. So foursomes or 4-ball.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yes. So that's something that could play into that's something that could play into maybe Team Europe's hand. And actually, that's where I want to go next, is looking at Team Europe and just looking at some potential combinations for them. They announced their captain's picks. Luke Donald will announce his less than a week from now on Monday, September 4th. They have the Omega, I'm going to get the name of the event wrong, but the Omega European Masters or maybe something like that in Switzerland this week. And then they're going to announce their captain's pick after that. I briefly want to get into the comments here. We have a question from Train, aka the Pizza Mogul, who are asking about how my hair looks so good and secret tips and tricks. Thanks for the question. I just like to say that here's a little hot tip. If you just use your wife's shampoo and conditioner, you can both save money on your own shampoo and conditioner, and it looks better anyway. Because
is this an ad?
It's not even an ad, because I haven't even mentioned a brand name. I got tired of spending so much money on hair products, and I just told my wife, I'm just going to use what you have, and out it comes luxurious. I'm not going to do is bend down so you can see the back of my hair, because I might need some hair plugs pretty soon. But the front, great, looking great. So. Let's roll over into Europe a little bit, because I was looking at this team again last night as I was putting together, and I'm gonna switch the bottom scroll here to show you the world points list. Dude, they have some horses on this team.
Oh God, yeah.
Like that big 3 of McIlroy, Rahm, and Hovland. Tyrrell Hatton disqualified. Tommy Fleetwood, Matt Fitzpatrick, Sepp Straka, Shane Lowry.
Okay, you know what would have been the tightest thing? Like, this would have been the coolest thing in the world today. if Zach Johnson's announced his 6 picks and announced Sepp Straka, that would have been like the steal of the draft. He's like, you know what, Luke Donald? We realize that you don't have any depth, and we're going to draft an American right now. We're going to draft Sepp Straka.
I think
that would have been
honestly,
so awesome because he's an American. He just happens to be from Austria.
It'd be fair game to draft Matt Fitzpatrick too, because this is a guy who's like openly talked about his disdain for links golf and playing overseas, and his favorite course in the world is Harbour Town. So I think
no, it's different. Sepp is the only Southern boy with Southern draw from Austria. So
I hear you. We're Americans. We're great at claiming things that aren't ours. So might as well just keep rolling with it. So we know
to your point.
And Matt Gannon's saying in the comments here, and it's fair. Like the bottom half is a little light, but I would.
You only need 8.
I think
you only need 8.
You only need 8 to play. And dude, what if they use a pick on Ludwig Aberg and he comes in there, guns firing?
All right, so the Ludwig Aberg argument, I've kind of lost. So he's obviously super talented, is going to be on Ryder Cup teams, but what in the world has he done to be on this team? When I go back and look at I'm going to go through his schedule real quick and tell you exactly what he's been able to do once I type his name right in the official World Golf Ranking. But dude, he hasn't had a top 10 as like a pro. Ludwig Aberg.
So I mean, I hear you there, and I think that
are you just bringing him in as the 12th guy and just knowing that?
That's what I think. It's like bring him in as the 12th guy. Worst case, you don't play him at all because you just playing your top 8, and those are your best players anyway, and it's a top heavy team. Best case, you get him out early, like you send him out Friday in the afternoon with someone who like you were absolutely convinced is going to win their match. Like you send him out with let's send him out with another Scandinavian. Let's put Vic and Ludwig Aberg together, and then if they win a match, they go out and they win 3-2, 4-3, or something like that. You build some confidence. Then all of a sudden, you got a nice little option, for a Sunday singles match. Like I get it, and ultimately, it may be a similar argument to the Cam Young debate, where it's like you don't take a guy for a developmental pick, you take a guy that's going to win you matches. But he's going to be a stalwart on this team for years. Like if I'm Luke Donald, I'm definitely using a pick.
Okay, all right. So maybe I was a little high on my horses there. So I just saw that he didn't have a ton of top finishes, but he's actually in 10 starts since in the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill. He's had 6 top 25s in 10 starts. He's had 2 top 4s, one just at the Czech Masters, and then finished 4th at the John Deere, only 1 miscut. So I definitely probably retract the statement. It's not exactly the most sexy stats you've ever seen as far as candidates go for the Ryder Cup, but I can definitely see that as he could potentially be a guy that totally changes the dynamic of that team, where Ludwig Aberg, he's different. Like he's a guy that when you watch him play, you're like, okay, he's comparable to, the bottom half of, or I say bottom half, just any American player, maybe outside of the what Scottie Scheffler was able to do. But yeah, the other guys.
There are also some Nikolai Højgaard shouts in the comments,
which
I kind of like. See, I would really, really zag here, and this is no disrespect to the other guys that primarily play on the DP World Tour, but I will go 11 and 12. I go Nikolai Højgaard and Ludwig Aberg, and just say if we lose, we lose. But these dudes are going to be like horses. Well, that's who you'd probably bump, unless you were also bumping Justin Rose, because I think as we're looking at this,
you got to take Rosie, man.
Rory. Well, so Rory, Rahm, Hovland, Hatton in. Fleetwood probably going to qualify, would get a pick otherwise. Fitz is going to get a pick. Straka's going to get a pick. Lowry's going to get a pick.
God, do you know
McIntyre's probably going to qualify in Euro points. So then it's like that's 9. So then it's like Rose is 10. Like and maybe part of their math is like we got to take some DP World Tour guys because like this is the organization that runs our team, so we can't like leave all these guys home. But I just I don't know. I love the potential in those young European guys. You cleared out all the guys that went to live that were kind of like the old guard. This is your opportunity to bet in new blood and kind of, reshape the face of the team. Like, let's just do it all the way, You know
who's going to be a problem at this Ryder Cup? Tommy Fleetwood. He's going to be an issue.
Dude, how about a Victor Hovland, Tommy Fleetwood ball strikers paradise combo? I just want to watch it. I just want to just watch that feature groups. That's all.
You put Brooks Koepka and Collin Morikawa up against those two and just watch. That pin is just going to get skimmed the entire day, man. That would be incredible.
See, this is what I'm so. I can't get me to the Ryder Cup right now. I'm like so fired up for this now. The Team USA roster is finalized because yes, like a matchup like that, or and I'm trying to even figure out what do we think Europe's going to do on their side with their pairings? Because I could see.
I think Sepp. Here's the thing about Sepp is I think he's similar to Rickie. I think he's a complement anybody's game. He's always in play. He's so straight. He never really he's not a guy that makes a ton of bogeys, and he can catch a hot putter. When Sepp Straka is on, look at the top of the leaderboard. That's where he is at. Now, whether he gets comfortable quick in this format and whether he has some pairings, but that he's comfortable with. But one of the things too that you look back at, and then we'll have to dive into this, but they had a tournament at the beginning of this year with kind of a trial run for all the potential European Ryder Cup players. And that'll be good to kind of look at to see who some of these guys were paired with, who Luke Donald was seeing as potential options.
The Hero Cup?
Yeah, the Hero Cup.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
well, it's still good to look at.
No disrespect to the Hero Cup, but go look at the names on that roster.
I haven't looked at it. I just remember watching a little bit on TV and that Sepp was there.
Yeah. So Sepp was there. I mean, but there were it really was a handful of those guys that are actually going to play and more experience for the other guys. Dude, we have some comments that are popping off right now that I'm loving here.
Okay,
Billy T again.
The Shane Lowry hate is hot in the chat room.
Billy T, yes, I want the Sepp Rom Husky Boys pairing. I want the big boys together, two absolute units, power cubes out there.
I don't know if they're more fullbacks, or more linebackers with those two guys, but yeah, I would be all in.
I think they're almost too tall to be fullbacks. Those are some backers. Dude.
John Rahm and Sepp Straka would be painting hearts, just the draw with the fade, just perfect hearts on every single hole. I'm not sure if that
beautiful. Now we have one here that says this is Alex Hurst. Who is your top guy for the post Cup win team press conference? Ooh. Now that DJ won't be there, who's going to be the star of those post press conferences?
Well, I would probably say Jordan, because when he just has a sip of champagne, he just kind of gets a little too bubbly, where it all sounds good in your head right before you talk, and then you speak, and then it just comes out like gibberish that just doesn't really either make sense, or it's ooh, my intrusive thoughts won on this one. I shouldn't have said that. And that's what led to the see woo shaking that ass that. That's in your head cooking. And when you have a glass of champagne, that just boards out. So I'm gonna go with Jordan.
See, I low key and I'll pick one on both sides.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
On
Give
our
me the
side,
other side too.
I low key like Brian Harman to just get up there with his, good old country boy draw and just drink a little bit of, champagne. I'll say just damn about anything, I think that could be.
Steven Spieth is in the chat.
Steven Spieth in the chat. Let's go. We had a Sam Burns check in and we have a Steven Spieth check in. This is popping, man. We need to do more live streams.
Steven, what's your handicap right now?
Please put in the chat. We will definitely read it. On Euro press conference side, see, it's tough because you got to decide who's going to win or who's going to lose. Rory had that really somber, deal at the press conference last year that everyone loved. Yeah. I mean, myself included.
Oh, it's great,
I
man.
could see on the Euro side. I mean, Tyrrell's a rock star, dude. He just says wild stuff all the time. Who's your Euro post press conference star if they win? Let's say.
I think my star for the week. So I just mentioned Tommy Fleetwood, but I'm gonna go with, I think Victor Hovland's gonna probably go 5-0, and I think he's gonna be a star in the press conference room. The dude is with a mic in his hands. I don't know if it's he just, to me, always seems just kind of out in space with what he's thinking about. He just seems like he has a lot going on in his head at times.
Yes. All right, Steven is handing out shots. He's a plus 0.2 handicap. Steven, I'm not a coward. I'll come to Birmingham, Alabama. You can meet me there, and we'll play a little game. And we'll see how it goes.
Hey.
I think I'd be getting like 6 or 7 from Steven right now. That'd be great. And Andrew wants to know we're not taking any Steven handicap slander either. So duly noted.
We need to get
Ackerman,
JT and Jordan to join the chat. That's when things are going to really get cooking.
That would really get going. Cam Ackerman asking you. I think you just said it. Any predictions for who goes undefeated on either side? So you have Vic on Europe, and then who is most likely to go undefeated on the U.S. side?
On the U.S. side, I love Max Homa. I think he's going to be
I like
the
that
stalwart of this U.S. team. I think he really started to play well the second half of the year. He started off really well, kind of went through a little bit of a slump through the middle of the year. In the back half of the year, thought he not only did he start playing well, but to me, I was watching him at the Open Championship, and he was paired with Rory McIlroy on Saturday or Sunday. And just a really big time pairing, Charlie, to where, a lot of people shoot 2-3 over in that pairing. And Max Homa kind of shot for shot, he was following up. And that's the kind of, like, nobody was cheering for Max that day. And to me, he was hitting a lot of really high quality shots. And then as we've seen as this year has gone on and into the playoffs, that Max has really played some solid golf. And to me, I feel like he's going to probably be one of the best players for this team, because right now it's hard for me to trust Scottie that he's going to get points across the board with the putter. And, I think he's going to have a complimentary partner like Sam Burns to be making some putts, because right now, if he's not making putts where necessarily nobody's cheering against him, it's going to be tough to make putts when people are cheering against you. So it's going to be a totally different environment these guys are accustomed to playing overseas in Europe, and it's a new experience for Scottie. He's never played in Europe. He's never been in this atmosphere. Neither's a lot of these guys. It's it's only a few players.
That's a good point. We don't like Scottie for as much as he set the world on fire the last 2 years. He was like, I think wasn't he 33rd on the Ryder Cup points list when he got a pick for Whistling Straits? He's still relatively new on the scene for these competitions, so it'll be interesting to see how he handles the adversity of not putting well. This really the entire season. It kind of goes on foreign soil and does over there.
Are you giving him any putts?
Oh, that would be amazing if they're like, we're not giving him anything. Like we gotta see everything, and gotta hear 18 cups, Scottie.
Dude, that European team room is gonna be like, nobody's giving Scottie a putt.
No. Nobody's
make him
Scottie
put everything. Just try to get in his head.
I have to we're engaging on multiple platforms here. If you can go to @the Smylie Show on Twitter and Instagram, and chat with us there as well. Go and follow now. We can
chat on Twitter and Instagram right now. What do you mean?
No, I'm just saying just go follow us there, because we also have content there you can engage with it. And so I put out the team graphic, to our dedicated Twitter followers, and said,
Gotcha.
Do you agree with Zach Johnson's captain's picks? Who would you have taken? And Mike Dunphy simply says, no.
You don't know Mike Dunphy. He's my neighbor down the street.
Well, I know a little bit about your neighbor, Mike Dunphy. He tried to come at me for Adam Scott career majors played in stat, and I think was surprised that it was actually close to correct. So no, Mike, if you're listening or watching now, we appreciate you chiming in.
Good question from Bram Javrin. Does Europe pair Rahm and Rory together? I say absolutely not. That would be one I would avoid. I would put, to me, the most obvious pairing is putting Tyrrell Hatton and Rory McIlroy together. I just think they complement each other so well. Tyrrell's such a good putter.
That's interesting.
Tyrrell's such a good putter. Probably the best putter on the team outside of probably John Rahm. And to me, they complement each other's game really nicely. And I'm honestly all in on the Sep John Rahm thing. So I'm rolling with that.
Husky boys there. Yeah, I was wondering if like Rory and maybe Shane Lowry for an Irish connection, but I like Hatton as well. We talked about Vic and Tommy. It's going to be it is going to be an interesting kind of to see how that Team Europe team picture shakes out. And the comments are this is. You know what? Honestly, like I would love to do every show like this because really, I just like to do like 25 minutes of content and then just turn it over to the comments. Just you guys tell us what to talk about.
Fleetwood
we will do
Fitzpatrick.
anything you
Yeah,
want us
I
to.
like that too.
Fleetwood fits too. I mean,
I
we were
like
saying
that.
Fleetwood and Vic, but I mean, I think
We talked
I
about
wonder if there's
Fitzy.
gonna.
Remember,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
he's starting to get his game back, and he's going to be a guy like he has to play well for this team. I feel like to beat the Americans, like you have to get something out of Matthews, Fitzpatrick, and maybe even maybe Shane Lowry. I don't think I'm leaning on Shane Lowry to get you too many points, but Fitzy has to be better than he was at Whistling Straits. He didn't win a point over there at Whistling Straits.
We have a very important question. Does Auburn cover 36.5 points in their season opener? We're in the college football portion of the program. If anyone would like to comment and make me feel better about the University of North Carolina's chances this season, especially heading into a season opener against South Carolina, now would be the time to do it.
I think the least shocking thing about Robert Sullivan is that he's using his father's YouTube account, can't get his own.
But listen, we appreciate you chiming in regardless. I mean, we're not going to shame you too much, but it's not hard to register for a YouTube account.
It's not hard.
Maybe he's using it as cover.
Not hard.
It's not difficult. We did it to do this show. So, golly, Smylie, we've been streaming for about an hour now.
It's been fun, man. I'm really.
It's been fun. It's kind of cool.
I feel like we're getting some good stuff from the Europe side that we've been talking about the American side so much, and I really have not really sunk my teeth in to.
It's almost like we got to shut the chat off. It's so good.
I can't keep looking over here.
We got to turn. We can't keep looking at it because it's so good.
Yeah, just to kind of. I don't know if we'll start to see the pods kind of released beforehand. Do you think we'll catch wind of the pods, or do you think you just kind of show up and go see?
That's a good question because it's like I'm trying to remember how it was in past years. Like, was it formally announced here are the pods, or was it more like we ask questions in. The questions are asked in a press conference, and Zach Johnson or captains confirm what the pods are. Do you recall on that? We have to turn the chat off. The chat is now we've gone to the dark side on the chat. God bless him. God bless him. It's hard. It's hard. Matt Gannon, yes, hammering Drake May 22 to 1 to win the Heisman.
I can't do.
If we have,
I can't do an MFK right now of John.
We can't do
or
an
of Rory
MFK.
JT and
Rory JT Tyrrell. I don't know. I don't even. I mean, probably marry Rory.
Dude, stop! Don't answer this. We're live. This is not. You're like, don't let your intrusive thoughts win on this one. You do not have to answer.
This is the chat is winning here. So on the pods, do you remember? Was it a formal announcement of what the pods were? Or is that something that just came out as part of?
I don't know. I'm thinking in my head that it was always a big to do going to figure out who's playing with each other in the practice rounds because you're like, all right, these guys are playing together.
That's the pod. Yeah.
I feel like it's so predictable on the American side, except for the kind of there's like 6 guys where I'm like, I don't know. It seems to me it's obvious to put Collin and Brooks together, but I feel like Collin's a guy that kind of could be paired with anybody. So
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
there's not a. I would say there's not a ton of great putters, Charlie, on this American team right now. And I think that's where do you find the best putters and pairing them with the guys that hit it the best? Not saying these guys are not great putters, but just stats wise this year, It's not impressive.
I mean, like that's we're about to have Denny McCarthy on the show here in a couple days in the podcast, and that's a guy who was 14th on the last points list, just narrowly missed out. A guy who is, one of the best putters on earth. I'm not suggesting like, I would have done the team makeup differently, but like if you were really worried about putting, that would have been a guy to look at. I think that It's interesting
Seriously, if you
because
just put him with if you just paired him with Scottie, not Sam Burns is a great putter, so it seems that's what the case is.
right.
But
Well,
just throw him out there and let him
here's
putt for
one.
him.
Yeah, well, that's what I love it if it was like you get to take a 13th guy and he gets like 4 celeb shots. Like Scottie and Ted Scott are like lining up a putt on like the 13th green, and like Zach drives out in his car. He's like, hold on, like we're going to the bullpen, and here comes Denny McCarthy. He gets to like take his one putt, drains the putt, waves to the crowd, hops back in the cart, and drives off. I think, hey, look, future year formats, just a suggestion. I'm spitballing.
Oh,
here.
here's our best MFK from Cam Ackerman: Glover, Swamp Ass, Scotty's putting, and Hovland's bank account.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, this is almost. Oh wow. See, okay. Here's the hard part about this one. You're gonna marry. You're obviously gonna marry Hovland's bank account, because then even if you divorce, you sign. I mean, as long as you don't have to sign a prenup, you're getting a large chunk of that. No matter what, right?
You marry
Hovland's
bank account. That's
what I'm saying. You marry Hovland's, but are you gonna? Which one are you gonna F or K? Glover Swamp Ass or Scotty's putting?
God, I think I'm.
If you're
are you
gonna,
killing Scotty's putting right now and just having a one night ride with? Okay, we are off the rails.
We are off the rails. We are at the part of the program where we suggested having a one night stand with Lucas Glover Swamp Ass. If you just tuned in, thank you for joining us. Wow.
We haven't talked about Lucas not being on the team, and and I believe Matt Gannon said earlier on here talking about just recency bias when it comes to Ryder Cup teams, and I think everybody always points to the Billy Horschel year, saying like, "Hey, this is why we have picks, is for years like Billy Horschel to keep him to where he's able to make the team." Well, I honestly think, Charlie, these picks now are more designed to keep guys off the team than they are to keep them on the team. And I think
100%.
it's all about control. And having six picks, that's not to keep people on the team. It's to keep people off the team. And I think for a guy like Keegan Bradley to not make the team, like that one stings, because, really in a year that I don't know what it used to be, how many picks they used to have, but let's see where Keegan ended up on that rankings. He was 11th, so typically he would have been looking for a pick anyways. But Cam Young probably in most years would have been on this team.
Cam was 10, right?
He was 9.
He was 9. Yeah, that's tough, because even with like the old 8 and 4 format,
so he would have been looking for a pick still. Okay.
But if you go way back, I think it used to be 10 and 2 way back.
Okay, that's kind of what. Yeah.
And they flipped it for. I think you're exactly right. It's that exact trying to keep guys off the team rather than get guys on. I think the thing with Lucas is that, and I'd have to go back and look into that year for Billy Horschel where he finished hot and didn't make the team, is like, I'm sure Billy probably played some of the majors that year. Like, Lucas didn't play a single major. He got really, really microwave hot for 2 weeks and won the Wyndham and the FedEx St. Jude, and that was amazing. But, I think if he goes out and top 5s the last 2 weeks,
Lucas,
it's Lucas. Then it's a different conversation.
I don't know, man. I don't know what Lucas could have done for him to be on the team, and that's nothing against him. He's one of the best ball strikers in the world. But I just think to not play in any of the major championships, to me that's such a red flag, and it's more of an experience thing. He hasn't played in any team deal. I would have much rather had a guy like Cam Young or Keegan Bradley over Lucas, and I think that's all recency bias. But he has been playing like the best player in the world. But dude, I've said this before. He played well at golf courses he should play well at. Like
that's a good point.
Like Wyndham Championship and Memphis, 2 golf courses. I would say if you gave me 10 names to pick and I'm looking at the field list, I would be like, ooh, Lucas Glover should play well on this golf course. I don't know if that's the case with Marco Simone. It's, to me, the comp has been, according to No Laying Up, who've been on site, they said it's similar to a Bay Hill. I don't know if that fits Lucas Glover's game, but I know Wyndham Championship and TPC Southwind are 2 golf courses that fit his game.
Well, and look, we don't know, but I guarantee you, who does know is the nerd herd.
The nerd herd.
We're
God, how do I
crushing
join
yeah,
the nerd herd?
Dude, we need.
And
to
how
get
do we
nerd
send
herd
some of these?
merch.
How do we send our chat to the nerd herd to help them with picks? Because actually, can we name our chat the nerd herd?
we can definitely. That's a nice working title, the nerd herd. I'm trying to think of any plays on Smylie. None come to mind immediately. But yeah, nerd herd works.
Okay,
I think
Steven Spieth, who is a long lost friend of Jordan Spieth, MFK just simply has to be a new show segment, and I don't disagree.
I don't disagree either. And by the way, Steven, you get a producer credit on the show because the ones you've come up with have been entertaining, to say the very least. There was actually one further up here that I wanted to ping you on. Adam Clark asked if you think Lee Hodges will ever make a Ryder Cup team. And, I don't know. I mean, it's tough because I know he's your buddy. He's from Alabama. But he's a guy that has all the talent, and I
got to get in the majors. Got to go get in the majors.
Got to get in the majors.
And so next year will be a big opportunity for him to try to play his way in the President's Cup team. You were kind of going through that list yesterday.
That's right.
And,
I have it right here,
and I kind of want to just talk about that list, if you don't mind pulling it up. Tell me what Tony Finau is on the President's Cup list.
Okay, so
because right now this Ryder Cup list, Tony Finau was 21 on the Ryder Cup list, but the President's Cup list, he's what?
So let me hit you with a couple names going down to just note where they are. So I think it's interesting. Cam Young is 25th, so he has a lot of work to do to make the team.
What a difference!
Lee
and
Hodges,
that's all. Like this Ryder Cup points list, I think needs to be adjusted because it's weighs way too heavily on the year's majors.
Yeah. It's well, I think it's the problem is it's like any system where it's like if you change it, there's a different way to complain about who it's leaving out. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's perfect, but I do think, kind of to your point, I think Wyndham Clark and Brian Harman are great players, but it does feel like they won their major and they were in.
Yeah.
And Brooks, and literally to the point where Brooks won his major and played well at other majors, but won his major and was like, I don't even really need to play on tour the rest of the year, and I'm gonna miss out on getting an automatic qualifying position by like $30,000.
Yeah.
So let's just really quickly finish this President's Cup list, and then we can wrap soon. But yeah, so Lee is at 24 on that list. Going down, Jordan is at 16 on that list. Like, it's interesting. Like, Jordan's 16, Sam Burns 15, Collin Morikawa 14. Tony Finau is 11th.
Yeah,
on
so
that
21st,
list.
And that's a player too. At when we talk about this Ryder Cup, who's kind of totally fallen out of the discussion was Tony Finau. He was the guy that had a really successful he's been really nice in the team room and a player that these guys love to play with. He provides, something that a lot of players don't have, dude. He's an elite iron player. Just this year, I think that putter just let him down, man. Like, I would love to see his putting not have that. Dude, his toe of the putter sits like this.
Have you seen his new routine?
No.
Well,
he doesn't mark, right? He just goes up and putts.
No. He does like a waggle on the green, like the same thing you'd see a guy do, like about to hit an iron in the fairway. He picks it up, he's picking it up, and he's like hitting the ground with it, and it is that toe is high.
It's high right now.
I feel as someone who is,
but he's such a good iron player
right now. Well, that's what I think that it feels like there are two ends of the spectrum on putting, and I'm actually really interested to hear what Denny McCarthy says about this on our next podcast episode. But they're kind of two ends of the spectrum. It's like you either have a really, really solid, routine and method, or you're just like an ultimate feel guy. And it feels like what Tony's trying to do is, I tried all the other stuff. Now let's just go feel what I was doing when I was a kid playing junior events. And I don't know that that's going to fly long term on the PGA Tour. But, he's such a good ball striker, kind of to your point. His stats beginning of the year were amazing that, if he figures that out, he's right there with all these other guys. So, what do you think, Smylie? I mean, I feel like I think we can deem this a solid success.
Oh, yeah, it's great. I love the cut-ins just to be able to watch some of the press conference. You know what these guys are going to say in the press conference. It's nothing life-altering that we didn't get to hear some of the comments, and we can go catch up on Twitter to see everything. But yeah, man, I thought this was a big success. I thought the chat room, the nerd herd, as we like to call
Chat,
them,
nerd herd.
they were popping off.
Yes, well
So,
done. We love you. You are the stars of the show.
yeah, so it was pretty fun. But yeah, I think we'll do more stuff like this moving forward. And yeah, no, I'm really excited for the Ryder Cup. I'm going to be over there calling it with NBC. So I'm really excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll be reacting again to those Team Europe picks next week in some format on the podcast or somewhere else. But really appreciate everybody joining today and chatting and things of that nature. So we will see you if you're watching here. We'll see you back on Thursday with an episode with Denny McCarthy.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one, man.
So,
speaking of a guy that was close to making the Ryder Cup team and talked about his putting and just what type of year he had, but he's a guy that's definitely a candidate to be on that President's Cup team and potentially play really well at the majors and get his first win. So I'm excited to talk to Denny.
Love it. Well, here I'm going to play the super futuristic future pop music, and I think this is how you end a live stream. Is it? Can you hear it? Oh, I can hear it now. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. See ya.